Oh, hold on, I'm coming! Whew! Sorry I'm late. You won't believe what happened at the coffee shop this morning. I ran in, hoping to grab a quick cup, right? But no. Of course, I ended up stuck behind someone who was live streaming their order and asking everyone watching to vote on what drink they should get. I could tell the barista was doing their best not to look annoyed, but it was clear the streamer was going to wait until they got enough votes before ordering. It was awkward. You know what? That makes me realize our world now is full of things that weren't around in Chaucer's day. Baristas, streamers. I wonder what he would think of our world, what critiques he would make of our society. Would Chaucer think some of these social media influencers seem vain, always chasing likes and views? Or maybe the hypocrisy of certain politicians? Do you think he'd poke fun of that? Well, today you get to decide as you begin to write your very own modern Canterbury tale. Grab your lesson materials and let's get started. Our mission today is to begin writing a modern satirical tale. In the previous lesson, we learned that satire is the use of humor, irony, and exaggeration to critique an aspect of society. We saw how, through characters like the prioress and the friar, Chaucer uses characters as exaggerated stereotypes in order to highlight social flaws. Your job is to, just as Chaucer did, take a social behavior, trend, or issue and turn it into a story that makes others laugh, think, and maybe cringe a little too. You can find moments in your everyday life that highlight how people act, what they value, or how society is changing, like getting stuck in line behind a social influencer. Hey, that's a good idea. Let's use my experience as an example to show how we can turn an everyday experience into satire. We're going to be using 4 simple steps to plan for writing a satire. The first step is to identify a social behavior to critique. With this step, we want to think about actions people take that could be harmful, silly, or unfair. Let's consider my coffee shop situation this morning. Pause the video and record 1 or 2 social behaviors that you think could be critiqued. Think about what's really happening beneath the surface. There are lots of different behaviors in this scene that you could have written about. For my satire, I'm going to focus on Chase asking his followers to vote on what drink he should order. That's the moment when things start to go off the rails. Okay, it's time to start thinking about a social behavior that you will critique. You could make a list of things that annoy or frustrate you, or browse news headlines or trending social media topics for ideas. Pause the video and write down at least 3 social behaviors, trends, or issues that you find frustrating, annoying, or worth highlighting. Now take a look at the ideas that you've come up with and choose the one that you want to write about. Once you've identified the social behavior you want to critique, it's time for step 2. Find the message. This is where things start to take shape. Think of the message as the heart of your satire. It's your central theme or the lesson you want your audience to understand after reading your satire. In my example, sure, it could be frustrating to get stuck behind someone live streaming their order, but the bigger question is, what does this say about society? Maybe the point I'd want to make is that some people are so busy sharing every second of their lives that they forget to actually live. And that's the message of my social critique. So, what specific message do you want to send about your social critique? Pause the video here to record your thoughts. Now that we have our social critique and our message, we're ready for step 3, creating characters. The characters you create should reflect the behaviors or trends that you're critiquing, but with a little twist. They need to be exaggerated and playful. Why? Because the humor in satire comes from making things just a little more over the top than they are in real life, which highlights how absurd these behaviors really are. At the same time, it's important to remember that satire is not about insulting or attacking anyone. We exaggerate a character's behavior in order to make a larger point about society, not to make fun of them. So let's think about how we can use character to help get our critique across. We could make it so that Chase can't make a single decision in his life without first hopping on his phone and asking his followers for advice. By exaggerating Chase's behavior, we're making the social critique that people's lives have become so wrapped up in technology and social media that they rely on it for even the smallest decisions. Alright, now it's your turn. Who will be the main character in your satirical tale? Consider what exaggerated traits you will give them and how these traits reflect the societal critique and message you've identified. Pause the video here to do some brainstorming. Great work so far! We've made it to the final step, building the story. This is where everything comes together. Your character, message, and social behavior are brought to life through the plot. Now we allow the experiences of the character to demonstrate our social critique. In my satire, I think I'll take the perfectly normal reaction of the barista who is slightly annoyed with Chase, and instead have them start dancing and making drinks with dramatic flair in hopes of impressing Chase's livestream audience. Now the social behavior is really on full display. Okay, now it's your turn to start building your own story. What experiences will your characters have that demonstrate your social critique? Pause the video here to brainstorm. Alright, our stories are full of humor and exaggeration, everything a great satire needs.
Warning!
What's going on? Oh, we forgot the message, the whole point of the satire.
Warning! Warning!
Okay, we get it. You can turn off the alarm. Well, that was a bit dramatic, but it's true. Without a message, our satire is just a bunch of jokes that go nowhere. I could get my message across in the way I bring this satire to a conclusion. Like maybe Chase is so busy taking pictures of his coffee that he forgets to take a drink. Pause the video here to make sure your message is clear in your plot while I work on my story. If you want to see the completed version of my satire, including how I add in the message, be sure to check out your lesson materials. Now it's your turn. As you keep working on your satire, think about the characters in your story. What exaggerated or ironic behaviors could they display? What message are you trying to send through these characters and their actions? Remember, every exaggerated behavior or ironic moment should point back to the bigger message you want your audience to reflect on. And it's cold. Great. Well, my coffee might be cold, but these satires are fire. See you next time.
Hey!